I would like to call upon Dr. Harshal Sawant, Global Competency Development Leader, Talent Management, Western Corporation. We shall have a fireside chat revamping your organizational structure to create a resilient workforce for the hybrid workplace of the future. Dr. Harshal Sawant is a global competency development leader at Western Corporation, brings 22 plus years of expertise. His background spans academic research in teaching, computer graphics, and virtual reality, and a decade in L&D, corporate competency, and learning strategies. I request Dr. Harshal Sawant to kindly introduce the panelists.
Thanks, organizers. And I have an eminent panel here with me. Purnia, Agnihotri. She is honored and recognized as a top 20 L&D influencers of the year 2023. And she's also awarded as an unconventional L&D leader of the year 2023. Great achievement, Purnia. She is Associate Director Learning at Flipkart since 2020, has total 20 years of experience, of which 15 years are in L&D industry, and she's also a chairperson for inclusion and diversity in this region for Flipkart. Thanks, Purnia.
Thank you very much.
And the panel. Anupama, another panelist here. Anupama is AVP HR at Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Anupama is holding 17 years of experience in human resources and training. She's working with Motilal Oswal for last 2 years, and she has been working in BFSI industry for a long time. Nuzhath, another panelist. Nuzhath Ayaz is a Vice President, Learning and Leadership Enhancement at Axis Bank. She has 2 decades of experience in this area of leadership, learning enhancement. She worked with more than 40 organizations as consultant, solution provider, strategies. I mean, that's really great. When I heard this, I was really amazed. She is learner forever, strategist, expert, and a project management consultant. So thank you, my co-panelists. It's a really pleasure to work with.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone.
So
it's really a pleasure to be here.
So I'll just open up. We have overall limited time running behind schedule, so we'll keep a tab on timings. So our topic is as follows, and I read it out. Revamping your organizational structure to create a resilient workforce for the hybrid workplace of future. So when I read this, I was like, oh my God, such a long sentence. So I decided to break it up. And before I do that, I would like to just start off with a very small case which I read 2 days ago in Times of India. Those who regularly read Times of India, so I'm a regular reader. So there was one article 2 days ago. It says, in race against time, companies look at 85% rule. As a pre-pandemic normal returns, where normal is in quote, and normal is no more the pre-pandemic normal, now the new normal we all know is a hybrid, right? So as a pre-pandemic normal returns, executive wants staff to optimize time for peak performance. And I felt it very relevant article. When I read this, I found it a very high relevance for today's conference agenda. So that's the reason I brought it up. And it talks about how we can use this 85% rule. Please read it if you can. And it talks about how we can change from, let's say one of the example the author has given is, earlier we used to have business review meetings, but now it should be more towards the future outlook meetings, where CXOs, and some time ago John talked about it, where leaders should more talk about the future. So the article says that if the CXOs leaders can use that MRM, the business review meeting time, more towards future outlook rather than just analyzing and stripping the data. So thank you. So with this, let me quickly come back. So the long topic, I just broke it. The organization climate for all of us is hybrid workplace of the future. What we are looking for as an end result is to create resilient workforce. And what we need is to revamp our current organizational structure. So with this, I would start off this discussion with our panelists, and let me open up with the questions. Sorry. Start with Purnia. Purnia, I have a question for you. Resilient workforce, that's what we are looking at as an end result, whole discussion. What are your views how L&D can develop a resilient workforce?
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on this platform. So, how can we develop as L&D professionals, L&D team, the resilience in our workforce? The simple answer is, if we can define what is meaningful work for our people in an organization. You know, in our life as well, if something where we feel we are contributing, somewhere we feel we are adding value, that is what we pride. And resilience is nothing but something which is volatile, right? Still you have to survive there. And if I am contributing, that means I am giving that value to myself as an individual in this larger organization. So if I can answer that my work is contributing to the organizational performance, that is what can be developed as a resilient workforce in this hybrid. And hybrid, per se, everybody is talking about locations. I very strongly feel doesn't matter from where you're working. If you're doing meaningful work, location doesn't matter. What matters, I'm contributing from my home, from my village, from my office. That contribution and that value which I'm adding is going to stand for me, and that is how we can drive a culture through L&D. Thank you, Harshal. Yeah.
Very right. So when we met in the morning, one of the hot discussion, where do you stay, how do you travel?
Absolutely.
And now actually, and Nuzhath mentioned that she worked.
The topic is about hybrid. And the good news is, ever since pandemic, I've been 100% working virtual. So this is as close as you can get to talking about hybrid. But yeah, we do travel on work. But yes, very interesting discussion. I think discussions casually are always best.
Thanks. And the case here is like Purnia said that she travels daily. I said I travel once or twice a week. Nuzhath said I'm at home, fully hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, my office does get me to Mumbai on and off, but mostly I work from Bangalore, yeah. I do travel too.
Okay,
But
travel
not
for
as
the
much,
cases.
not every
Yeah.
day, not every
Right,
day,
right.
yes.
That's nice. So Nuzhath, with this I'll have a question for you.
Sure.
So organization structure, like I mentioned, the case which we are discussing is all about how we can revamp the organization structure. So I have a question related to that. So in your view, what role does the organizational structure play in fostering a sense of belongingness in the remote workers?
That's a great question, and I'm sure most of you agree. And for me to be an authority on that subject will not be fair, because there's so many of you who are all L&OD experts, seasoned professionals. I'm sure each one of you will have an perspective. However, I was just thinking yesterday, you know, what can I talk about when this question comes up, because the question was already planted in our discussion. At that point in time, something really stood out. And this was a story that, you know, I would share with you. But before that, I'd like you to raise your hands. How many of you feel a sense of belonging at your workplace? Can I see a raise of hands? And be honest, huh? Because these numbers, we are tracking them and they're going to report it back to your work. So then you can't go back and complain, I need more sense of belonging. So we saw about 50%. Some people were like putting up their hand because others were putting up their hand. But this is a loaded question, and this is what each human being wants every day, wherever we are. Do you agree? No matter where we are, we want to belong. So the story I was going to talk about is David Bader. He never felt a sense of belonging. His boss never made him feel welcome. And he realized there were 5 things which can actually determine. So he quit that company. I will not get into the details because the bell will ring, right? So I will be mindful of that. But long story short, he didn't work for that organization where the boss did not make him feel a sense of belonging. So 5 things, if you're making notes, and I think most of you will agree with that. Am I welcomed in my organization? That's a lot to do with induction and all of that in initial phase of your life. And then, once I'm welcome, do I feel supported in the organization? Do I feel connected to my organization? Is there inclusiveness in the organization? Is there gender neutrality? Are there topics of support, right? Equity, equality, all of those aspects. And finally, am I able to create an impact with my contribution? All of this, and as you mentioned as well initially, building resilience is also about, are we able to offer this to our employees? Would you agree? You can nod your head. Usually in my workshops, I do this. I say that if you agree, you can nod your head forward. If you don't agree, you can nod your head this way. And if anything goes, which is like, we were sharing with you, you can do your head nod like that. So we come to know if you're listening or if you agree with us or not. But that's what, these 5 things are important. Am I feeling welcome? Am I feeling supported? Am I feeling connected? Is there inclusivity, and am I creating an impact? And that will make a huge difference in my sense of belonging in an organization. So thank you so much for that question.
Thanks, Nuzhath. And before I move to the next question, I'll just connect with what you just mentioned, sense of belongingness, connected, and those 5 points. I'm from an academic background, did some research, and then one of my research area is work engagement. And what you just mentioned is exactly a part of that construct, academic construct called as a work engagement. And my thesis was with respect to how learning and development has a relation with work engagement, and work engagement is directly related with the performance of the business, performance of employees. So I'm just connecting from your to Anupama with respect to performance. So from belongingness to work engagement to L&D to performance. So Anupama, here's a question to you. How can performance evaluation methods, and we have, like we all know, how can performance evaluation methods be updated in this revamping to fit in this hybrid model?
Thanks, Harshal, for that question. I think as organizations are moving to hybrid, I think the key things which the organizations are looking at is making an environment where people can be innovative, collaborative, and also productive at the same time. So what is the organizations which can create a kind of an environment for employees, in the performance sphere? Like before, performance could not be discussion points which happens half yearly or annually. The discussion should go on a ongoing process, like it could be quarterly, it could be monthly as well. The connect what the employees and the manager is something which the organizations in the hybrid needs to institutionalize. Only then there will be a scope for a better performance conversations. So how could the organizations do that is basically to create a platform in terms of the technology which we can create. Having connect sessions, check-in sessions, with the team members and the managers, and it will not be restricted only to the performance or the KRAs, which would be precisely in terms of talking, this is what your KRA and this is what you have achieved. Instead, the conversations with the team members should slightly be in terms of asking what are the skills that you as an employee would want to develop. That is something which is a key for the performance parameters. That's only when we provide as organization, only then you will be able to create an environment for employees to be innovative, and also to be productive as well. The sphere in which I think a lot of people talked about learning is something which is to be on the go. It need not be that I have it right now at the performance management and I can use it at the end of the year. I need to know what are the skills my employees require, and as an environment, as an organization, are we able to provide that ecosystem where people can learn immediately and not post 12 months after we analyze the skills. So the important thing which when it comes to performance evaluation is more getting evolved, okay, and people are looking forward for recognitions, instant recognitions. So we have a lot of minimal employees who are, the Gen X, where they look at recognitions instantly. And the platform which we create for recognitions form a base for them to be a productive employees. This is what I feel about performance management. I'm sure that both of them would have spoken about resilience. As a hybrid organization, how we can create is what we will have to look out as organizations. That's what I.
Thanks. Thanks, Anupama. I'll just pick up from what you mentioned, and you said that we are, otherwise the KPIs, KR is a very, very objective and then pointed methods. But then we need to go beyond creating a platform, creating a kind of an environment which creates a meaning among the entire system employees, right? I'll pick up from there. Meaningful work is a term. And now I'll ask Purnia your question, picking up from meaningful work. So when we say meaningful work, is there a measure to it?
Wow, I'm stuck, guys. So do you think we can give a measure to what we do? I mean, as L&D professionals, I guess this is a challenge statement which keeps coming. You feel we can measure what we do as an impact to the organization? Yes, no? Great. So the answer is yes, of course. If there is a meaningful work and I'm feeling great about it, in a business scenario, this is only a feeling, yeah? It has to transcend into something which is measurable, right? I feel that many of us define the KPIs, basis, this is my department, these are my KPIs, right? Mostly. However, let me give an example here. We are aware of the term Net Promoter Score, NPS we call popularly, yeah? We all understand this? So the customer is rating us for the experience that we have given to the customer. So suppose I am the training person, yeah? What should be my KPI? Should my KPI be NPS? Or should my KPI be how many people I have trained on the soft skills? So generally, head counts, yeah? However, if you actually see the 11, 1, and 2 drivers of NPS, you can actually understand whether the person who visited me or attended my call, whether he was good to me or he behaved well. There are furthermore drivers, right? And you can pick up those metrics and say, yes, these many people I have trained, I can actually backward integrate and tell that, okay, he's having good scores with the customer, and this one is creating a detractor. That is how we do the TNIs. Another example could be escalation. There is a lot of cost, right? Cost of doing business, how training team can address this and say that I'm creating impact is, suppose there is escalation, there is always a count and numbers. We measure everything, right, in an organizational setup. How do I do it? So if I'm training you for a good behavior, escalations have, again, L1, L2 drivers stating customer is happy, unhappy, and escalations are generally unhappy. It is unhappy flow for us. So let us consider a very small amount. We are investing for 5 desks for escalation that we have dedicated for customer escalations, 30 lakh rupees. I bring down the escalations and I don't require 5 desks at all. So from 30 lakh, I have actually saved 25 lakh. I'm working on 1 desk. This is again a measure. I can actually measure and say this area who is serving, whether this person I trained, yes, he's doing a good job. And the other person is not doing that good job, let me retrain that person. Likewise, we are in the e-commerce world, so we talk about reviews and rating. Again, you can actually measure that. So to me, meaningful work, if I give my team member, my employee, that meaningful work with a feeling of adding value and contribution, plus. Yes, you made a difference by bringing rating to 5. That is a very happy scenario. And yes, we are quantifying that meaningful work done by each and every employee. So yes, there is a measure and we can measure it. And yes, there is a choice of employees as well here. I'll just conclude with this. We are talking about skill-based. employment as well, yeah, many people spoke about it. And this is an individual choice also here. So there is a situation wherein there is a need for changing the approach, but I'm comfortable in what I'm doing because I realize I don't have that skill. So as an individual, do I survive with whatever is happening right now and do not accept the change? Or I pick up a skill and say, let me train myself on this, and then I will be able to deliver to the performance, business performance of the organization, yeah? So that is how we measure meaningful work, and it gives immense satisfaction to each one of us sitting here. I'm sure that you agree with me. If you have done a great job and you can correlate the same with the business objectives and organizational performance, you'll be at a level wherein you will feel that, yes, I'm confident in doing any job, right? That's it, I guess. We can definitely measure. Thank you,
Thanks,
Harshal.
Purnia. And now I'll put back a question to Anupama because we started from there. We started about the performance and KPIs, then came the meaningful work, and you talked about the measures. Now, the moment we have measures and quantifiable stuff, employees look forward for career growth and promotion, linking it, that quantifiable stuff. Now, Anupama, here's a question. How can this career growth and promotion be put into place in this hybrid organization?
Okay, somebody in the morning, I'm sorry I forget the name, I think Mr. Ram informed that McKinsey says that, people quit organization. 40% of the people, as per McKinsey, says they quit the organization because there is no career development, okay? So as, L&D professionals and HR, we will have to plan this career development in advance, in a proactive way, than a reactive way. So how does an organization can enable this is that on the basis of the roles, we have a lot of, ways of giving them opportunities for employees in terms of unconventional learnings platforms, self-learning platforms for employees for career development, and this can be linked to the performance as well. So at Motilal Oswal also we have a learning quotient, okay, which gets measured at the final appraisals. So that is one part of the skill development which we look at employees, that whether they're able to be, adaptable and learning as, nurturing themselves. So this organization should set up in terms of roles, what best we can give and advancements for employees in terms of the roles which we offer. Okay, and it need not necessarily be a career advancement for a particular year or the next year. Okay, in a long-term perspective, we can look at career advancements from levels like CXOs, frontline, executive leaders. Okay, having a number of universities which we can empanel, and it would be a great retention for employees as well when we are connected and giving them not only the classroom session but also an enterprising learning which really helps them to innovate themselves. So I think it need not necessarily be one year planning. It needs to be a planning which will take leaders, employees to the next level, and the succession planning also comes into the place. So that's my words on learning and
Thanks.
career development. Yeah.
Thanks, Anupama. And now, Nuzhath, some time ago, you talked about, motivation, the sense of belongingness, and those 5 points, and overall employee well-being. Now, I'll just connect with what Anupama said. So, Anupama talked about having some kind of a structure in place. So, in your opinion, how the new organization structure, revamping our organization structure, can prioritize this employee well-being in this hybrid space?
I'm really enjoying the perspectives from both my co-fire chat panelists, and I hope you're also, keyed into these insights. What really stands out as far as wellness is concerned, I'm sure all of us agreed today, with all the great resignation and everything that's been happening lately, that when our grandparents earned, they earned for a particular reason. What was that? Any guesses? Sustenance, livelihood. They had to put dal roti on the table. right? They had to really make ends meet to give the livelihood, and our standard of living was picking up. What did our parents do for us? I mean, they did a lot of things, you know that, right? Education, and they gave us a lifestyle, right? We were able to get a bike, get a car. Today, what are we doing? One is managing to maintain the lifestyle. Don't sell that house, right? Keep the bank balance, keep building it. And in Indian context, it's also about leaving that behind for our children or our generations to come. Am I making sense here? Do most of us in India think this way? Or this is just my assumption? You can use your head nod, we're still watching. So today, what we really look forward to as an employee is well-being. Whatever we have earned all these decades, right, whether it's livelihood, lifestyle, we want to be able to maintain that and create a good work-life balance. And if that's not there, no talk on performance or resilience or hybrid or career convent. Nothing is going to work if well-being is compromised, because today, everybody wishes to have the well-being. Now, what is the advantage of an organizational structure that can create a well-being? Are we aware that when we're working in a hybrid, we're working independently? So somebody's working 3 days hybrid, 2 days from home, or maybe the other way around. Some organizations do the flip model, right? They work 2 days from office and 3 days from home. Yeah? How many of you do work in hybrid? How many of you go to office every day still? We got to speak to your employers, right? I think I'm treading on grounds I'm not supposed to. But yes, the fact of the matter is, looking at our organization structure and what model we have chosen, if it's hybrid, we got to give a lot more independence. A flat structure might work better as opposed to a bureaucratic structure. A bureaucratic structure works better when you have let's say a 5-day work, we're able to interact with each other. Then you can take the approvals and permissions. The bell rang, so I'll stop. But yes, I'll just leave you with this one model, which is useful. It's called BAMBA. I want to show, if you watch the movie Bambi, it's easy to remember Bamba. Bamba stands for basic needs, is something which employees are looking at. Everybody has got the basic needs addressed. Autonomy, can I get my work done in an autonomous way, independently and contribute? That's the second thing employees are looking at. Mastery, can I excel at my craft? Can I become really the expert at what I do? Belongingness, we already covered. And the last one, any guesses? The last A, what it stands for? There's a lot of talk about that, and then I promise I'll stop after that. Almost there. It starts with A, abundance mindset. An abundance mindset takes us to an optimistic, positive outlook of life that can also create well-being. So being able to educate our employees and create that well-being using our structures as well as knowledge transfer could usually be a huge benefit. And connecting the dots from what you mentioned, meaningful work, and you spoke about the structures that connect our entire performance management system, including wellness. I think with all of that, since I'm also required to summarize, because after this, we, I don't know, have a different agenda or lunch, I think it just connects up beautifully that we're talking about various aspects which will ensure the success of hybrid. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nuzhath, and thanks. I think it was very good. We had a good time, and you're continuously looking at me. We have still 1 minute to conclude. I'll take that 1 minute. Okay. So we may not have a time for questions, but then I'll just quickly, close this. All of you have this agenda, and just we had a discussion. So I have already made some quick points. So after all this discussion, and we had this discussion earlier, so I summarized it in 5 C's. We are all fond of like 5 C's, 5 R's, and so and so. So I have some 5 C's under which I have put all this as a drivers for this subject, revamping this organized structure to create a resilient workforce and hybrid. So 5 drivers I see are culture, culture of agility, flexibility, culture of employee focus, communication. So we as L&D and very key member of HR, we should create a proper branding and marketing of the efforts which we are putting in. the resources we are investing in. Employees should know what's really happening. So that's a communication. The third C is contextualizing L&D. And very much important because we have a Gen Z, and we were talking about Gen Z, the sense of belongingness and multiple aspects. Every individual, every employee has needs. There are different set of people. So if we contextualize whatever efforts we put in to that will be really important. Meaningful work, this career growth, and all those aspects we need to contextualize. The fourth one is capability. And as L&D people, we are always looking for building the capability, out of which two very important are communication skills and the language proficiency. That's one of the items written in our agenda of the conference. Very, very important. I really felt very importance of these two items in our current workforce with Gen Z, and we were talking about Gen Z is all about short forms and emojis. Yeah. And if you ask them to write an email, they struggle. So very, very important capability. And the last one is control. As a L&D people, we have to have a good control on whatever is happening. And I use these quotes from famous books: measure what matters, data-driven decision making, obviously using data analytics and business intelligence, and ChatGPT and brad.google.com and all what we learn. And not only the Kirkpatrick model what we use, but then now we have to go beyond by linking it to the performance management. Very important topic. So with this, I say that these are the 5 C's I derived out of this fire chat. And thank you, my eminent panel
Thank you
co-panelists.
very much.
It was a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Any questions, you all can
Thank
have
you,
a
everyone.
discussion
I don't
during
think so
lunch.
we have time
Thanks,
for that.
Harshal.
Together for our moderator, Dr. Harshal Sawant, Global Competency Development Leader, Talent Management, Western Corporation. Panelists, Ms. Nuzhath Ayaz, Vice President Learning and Leadership Enhancement, Axis Bank, Ms. Anupama Padmanabhan, Association Vice President HR, Motilal Oswal, Financial Services Limited, and last but definitely not the least, Ms. Purnia Agnihotri, Associate Director Learning, Flipkart. Thank you so much, Dr. Harshal.